Hey K-Poppers, and welcome back to Hallyu, where it's time to recap a shocking week of news and an extremely busy week of comebacks in the world of K-pop. GFriend shocks the world with a sudden disbandment, G-Idle solo activities may be pointing to an uncertain future for that group as well, Jaejoong reveals disturbing stories of Sasaeng fans, and a monster week of huge comebacks from BTS, aespa, and a whole bunch more. Before we get started, I want to quickly thank Hallyu's honorary producers. If you want to show off your bias group in every video, have your say in future content in the channel, and join the official Hallyu Discord server, come support Hallyu on Patreon and join our wonderful community. Alright, now let's jump right in. This is your K-pop news update for May 23rd, 2021. The biggest story this week, of course, has to be the shocking and sudden disbandment of GFriend. So let's talk about the announcement, what we've learned since, and what we still don't know about their future. So, on May 18th, several news sources began reporting that GFriend were unanimously not renewing their contracts with their label, Source Music. Korean sources were also reporting this with the heavy implication that this would mark the girl group's disbandment, and as you guys know, I reported on that within a few hours that the group was indeed disbanding. The next day, we did get further confirmation as each member took to Weverse to share handwritten letters to their fans confirming GFriend's fate. In fact, in someone's letter, she mentioned that, quote, GFriend is officially over. Source Music also confirmed that their contract with the members was going to expire on May 22nd, saying, quote, after careful consideration and extensive discussion, GFriend and Source Music have come to an agreement to go separate paths and show an even better image. Source also shared a post stating that they would be leaving all social media posts up and that they would be allowing refunds of the group's 2021 fan membership and a cancelled fan sign event. And just yesterday, on the 22nd, the girls shared goodbye photos with fans, marking their official disbandment date with one last gift to the fans. So with all of that out of the way, there is a lot to break down here. The elephant in the room, of course, is that GFriend was a very successful girl group at a label that's part of HYBE, a very much not struggling label. So a really useful question to ask in these kinds of situations is why now? And I think it yields some interesting thoughts here, though I should say to be clear that as of this recording we still know very little about why this happened. But think about it, it was only 4 days before their contract expired that we got this news, and Source is even offering refunds on an event and fan membership. So why now? It just doesn't make sense, which to me suggests that Source Music didn't think this would be the end. I think that Source Music was expecting them to renew even up until perhaps a week ago. My money's on something happening in negotiations where GFriend took the nuclear option when Source wouldn't budge. As I briefly talked about in the breaking news video, perhaps the girls were unhappy with all of the corporate restructuring and changes that came with the move to Big Hit and then the change to HYBE. Perhaps they wanted something in their contracts to preserve what they had before, and that something might have been a deal breaker for them if they didn't get it. Again, this is all speculation, we don't know anything for sure. There's been a lot of radio silence from the members and the label in general, and that definitely makes it more difficult as fans too. GFriend were a driving force behind my renewed passion for K-pop in 2015, and they've always been in the upper tiers of my favorite girl groups. Their debut trilogy was fantastic, and their album intros always blew me away. They were so unique. I will forever stand by my stance that GFriend had one of the strongest girl group discographies out there with countless amazing B-tracks. I was also incredibly lucky to have seen them perform live at an intimate concert of just 300 people in Toronto during the rough era, which was a concert experience I will never forget. So while this whole situation is still very fresh and shocking, we'll no doubt learn more in the coming weeks, and when that time comes you can definitely expect a deep dive on this girl group and what led to their sudden end from me. Now, speaking of girl groups who all of a sudden seem to have some sort of uncertain future, I think we need to talk about G-Idle for a minute. First off, as we all know, Uki made her solo debut last week with the song Giant and has been sharing teasers of another song called Bonnie and Clyde. Well, now member Soyeon is making a solo comeback in June as she's currently putting the final touches on her own new music. And we've also found out that Minnie, who's been hard at work as an actress, will be having her and GOT7's Youngjae's Netflix sitcom So Not Worth It coming out soon on June 18th. Now let me first say I think it's great that there's so many great solo activities being given to all the girls. But am I the only one getting more and more concerned for G-Idle as a group as each solo activity gets announced? Obviously, Soojin has been embroiled in the bullying controversy for a while now, and I have to wonder how long it might take before we see a full group comeback, or which direction Cube might be heading here, especially given Lightsam's pending debut. Do you guys think I'm worrying too much for nothing, or is this a pattern that's emerging with G-Idle? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Now switching gears a bit, Jaejoong shared a whole bunch of insane and disturbing stories of his dealings with Sasaeng fans over his 12 years as an idol this week. On his radio show Late Night Studio, the singer shared many stories of fans invading his privacy, trespassing at his house, sending him pictures of himself, and more. Frankly, I don't want to go too into detail about these stories and glorify them in any way, but if you want to read them, they're readily available online. One thing that did stand out to me though that I wanted to mention is how the police responded to him when he sought their help. On one occasion when he caught a stalker at his front door, the police told him, quote, "If they're your fans, then of course you want them to come here. Don't call the police on your fans." This is shocking to me, and it's completely the wrong response, and it enables the abusive behavior of the Sasaeng. Sasaengs in general are definitely a dark spot on K-pop, as I'm sure onces are well aware given Nayeon's experience with one in particular. So I applaud Jaejoong for speaking out, and I hope it starts a conversation about how unacceptable this behavior is. Alright, now it's time to check out an insane week of comebacks from some huge groups. Let's kick things off with aespa, whose big comeback features some very distinct sections musically. Here is Next Level.
I'm on the next level. 저 너머의 문을 열어 next level.
Soloist Yin made her debut this week with this delightful song called I Can't Hate You Anymore.
얼마나 아파야 얼마나 울어야 널 미워할 수 있을까.
Rapper Huh is surrounded by bikes and Business Boy, a catchy rap track. BTS are as smooth as ever in their latest hit, Butter. Rocket Punch are trying their hand at the retro comeback style in Ring Ring. Tribe's new comeback, Rub-a-Dum, is infused with some strong Latin vibes. Elast U's debut as a subunit takes place on a picturesque coastline. Here is the beginning of spring. Pirate ships have never looked so cool thanks to girl group Bling Bling's new comeback, Oh Mama. Heija is back with a brand new track called Happen, and look who's in it, Song Joong-ki, the actor who of course was in the incredibly famous Descendants of the Sun. Pixie are going hard in this excellent comeback called Let Me Know.
Let me know, boy, let me know, boy, let me know, boy, let me know, boy, I just want.
Taemin's latest comeback, Advice, is here and it features piano, vocals, dancing, and that hair. TO1 are walking a fine line with wordplay in their new song, Son of Beast.
I'm a son of a beast. 온몸으로 부딪혀. I'm a son of a beast.
Alexa got some help from Bader Al-Shwaibi in this lyric video for Is It On? And last but not least, we have Fromis9 who are back with We Go, which has a very meta music video. As always, I want to know what songs from the past week caught your eye down in the comments. My pick for this week was a toss-up between Pixie and Taemin. They were both great, but in the end I chose Taemin's Advice. There's just so much talent on display in his latest release, it was impossible to ignore. And with all those releases out of the way, let's get back to some news where Blackpink are partnering with Krispy Kreme for their own donut. Now I should note this is specifically from the Philippines, so unfortunately I don't think it'll make it to American locations. It looks like SM Entertainment is working on a new group, and the name will be Pink Blood. SM, who approved that name? It's awful. Now we know this is the name because SM applied for the trademark on the name on May 11th, and some SNS accounts with the name and this logo have been found. Other than that, it's all just speculation for now, so it could even be a new unit or a collab like Super M. And speaking of new groups, YG has confirmed it's working on an upcoming girl group, and I think there's going to be some split opinions about this one. That's because YG has told us that girls will all be in their mid-teens on debut, and that they started training at 10 years old and have been training for 4 to 5 years on average. There's also some hints that the group may be called Baby Monster, which is better than Pink Blood, I guess, but that bar is really low, like on the ground. aespa raised some eyebrows during their online presser for Next Level as they hinted at future plans to release a full album. On the topic, Ning Ning said, "We are working hard to meet our fans with a richer song, so please wait a little more." According to Spot TV News, a malicious poster who targeted EXO's Chanyeol has been indicted by the prosecution. Since this is a legal proceeding, we don't know what rumor or story this is in reference to, but XOLs can rest easy knowing that justice is being done for Chanyeol. We've gotten some more details about Red Velvet's Joy and her special album. It'll be out on May 31st, it'll feature 6 songs, and it'll be songs from the 1990s to 2000s remade by Joy. Remember how we've been wondering if we're actually back in the middle of the second generation this year? Well, throw in an after-school reunion performance. SBS is kicking off a new web series in partnership with Melon Music to bring back nostalgic songs of years past, and is starting with After School. Kahi, Jooyeon, Becca, Reina, and Jungha will all be on the show to perform either Bang or Diva depending on voting from fans. Unfortunately, there's another after-school related story this week which is not so great, which is that Lizzie committed a DUI which led to a car accident. Lizzie was driving drunk at 10:12 p.m. on May 18th and caused an accident by rear-ending a taxi. Thankfully, there were no injuries sustained, but Lizzie has had her license revoked and has been taken into custody. Hyuna and Dawn are setting some new K-pop norms as they've revealed they'll be the first real-life couple to promote as a musical duo. We don't know when this will be yet, but all I ask is that for at least one of the performances, come on, bring out Pentagon's Hui for the Triple H reunion. So as we all saw, BTS is back this week with Butter, and I'm sure there's going to be a monstrous BTS news section next week from all their achievements. For now, we already have confirmation via this YouTube blog post that Butter's premiere broke the all-time record for concurrent viewers with 3.9 million. The previous record was of course held by Dynamite. Haeja used her time on Yoo-Heel's sketchbook this week to speak up on an important issue. The soloist brought attention to the expensive nature of feminine hygiene products in Korea, saying these should be provided or subsidized by some public institutions. Good for you, Haeja. aespa are going to be on Knowing Bros soon. This will be the group's first appearance on the show, and my question is, will there be some editing and interaction with their virtual counterparts? What do you guys think? We finally got a date for the Brave Girls comeback. The girl group turned viral sensation will be making their return with some new music on June 17th. And you can throw in 2 p.m. as much a way to come back to that list. The boy group will be returning with new music in late June. The Queen of Charity IU has donated 500 million Korean won, or about $450,000 US, to charity this week. The donations were made to various charities to celebrate her birthday, and to top it off, she made the donations in the name of her fans, Yuena. I've talked about IU's tumultuous upbringing and her golden heart in multiple deep dives in the past on this channel, so definitely check those out if there's any doubt about whether you should be standing IU or not. Alright, now let's talk about another exciting week on the music show front. Now, Music Bank did not have a regular broadcast this week, but they did say they'll be announcing a winner. From what I can gather from KBS directly at the time of this recording, it looks like ITZY have won that show for Mafia in the Morning, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so take it with a grain of salt. And they weren't the only girl group to win this week. Oh My Girl started the week off with their first win for Dun Dun Dance on the show. Then it was all about NCT Dream. The boys dominated with their new song Hot Sauce, taking the remaining 4 wins on Show Champion, M Countdown, Show Music Core, and Inkigayo. What do you think we'll see in next week's music show results? Alright K-popers, you're now officially caught up on everything going on in the K-pop world. Let me know how you feel about all this week's news and the new music we got down in the comments. As always, if you want to stay caught up with the K-pop world as it happens while having a ton of fun every single week, make sure you're subscribed right here to Hallyu.